My name is Terry O Reilly. I'm a 40-year ad man, so I spent my entire career in the advertising business, first as a copywriter, then a creative director, and then I started my own, co-founded my own company, which was an audio production company. So we did the sound and music for radio and television commercials. And I happened to host a radio show and a podcast on CBC called Under the Influence, which looks at the world of marketing and advertising. I think social media has changed everything. That's no secret or it's a blinding flash of the obvious, but I think here's what it means to small businesses, which I think is important because nobody ever has the budget they need or the marketing budget they wish they had. Social media allows a company to advertise or to reach customers really without an investment of money, just an investment of time. And I think that's a huge change. I mean, if you went back 15 years, the only way you could advertise was to buy media time, which would eat your budget so quickly. But in this new day and age, you can reach people on mobile phones, which everybody has. Everybody's got one in their pocket. You can build your brand, you can share information, you can make use of hashtags to gather a group. And I think there's never been a better time and never been a more powerful medium than social media because it travels. You don't have to be sitting in front of a television. You can send out a message and everybody in this room that follows you can get that message and walk around with it. And I think that is a powerful aspect of social media, is that it moves, it travels. So my radio show, I'm in my 14th season. When we started the radio show in 2005, there was no Twitter. Facebook was maybe a year old. YouTube hadn't arrived yet. No Snapchat, no smartphones. I mean, imagine how much has changed since I started my radio show to talk about the industry. So I am amazed when I look back at how fast digital accelerated. And I have to think not only was it the technology, but again, it was the convenience. It was that a phone, it's a funny thing, a smartphone, the least used thing on it is probably the phone. It's everything else. It's all the apps. It's Twitter. It's Facebook. It's YouTube. It's sharing. It's gathering. It's watching movies while you're waiting for a bus. It's watching videos when you're standing in line somewhere. And that's what I was getting at earlier. A small business, a restaurant, can reach its customers so easily and with just a few clicks of a mouse or just the post of an interesting thought. But I'll say this. It's difficult to sell on social media because it's social, not selling media. So you have to be careful about what you post. In other words, I think you should be sharing great information. Sometimes about your restaurant, sometimes not. If you were to follow my Instagram or Twitter feeds, for example, you would see things about my radio show, my podcast, but you would also see just interesting things that I just see along the way because I'm really just sharing information. If you looked at my feeds, you would also see listeners. The conversation we have with our listeners, they're constantly sending me episode ideas or sending me campaigns they saw when they're on vacation in Germany. In other words, there's a real back and forth with my listeners, which would be my customers. A restaurant has customers. There's that back and forth, which in traditional media, television, radio, you never had. There was no conversation. It was a one-way monologue. Now it's a dialogue. Hugely different, hugely powerful. I've always believed that if you don't have a story, you don't have a business. And by that I mean, tell me the story of your company. Tell me why you do what you do. Not what you do, because I get that, but tell me why you do it. I want to know what drives you, what your passions are, what makes your restaurant or your food service business different. Tell me that in a story. Again, tell me the story in YouTube. Pull out your phone and make a video. Tell me that story. Tell me it in a podcast. Because you know what? The barrier to entry to do a podcast is really, you could do it on your phone if you had to. You don't even need a recording studio. So create content that isn't so self-promoting as it is just interesting. Be interesting on social media. Tell me something I didn't know. Weave your story in such a way that it's absolutely compelling, that when I look at the content about your restaurant, I share it with somebody. Have you seen this video about this restaurant? You got to see this. Like, make it so interesting that it's shareable, but make content. Well, e-commerce has landed on smartphones a long time ago. That's a huge sea change. I just wrote an episode of my show about law marketing, how law firms advertise. And in that research, I discovered that when we need lawyers in our lives, 80% of us Google to try and find a lawyer, and 30% of us make a decision using our smartphone on lawyers. Like, that's a pretty important decision you're making, right? So e-commerce, ordering food on the, like while you're on the bus on the way home, when you're on the subway on the way home, you're ordering your food through your smartphone. I did a campaign, this was an interesting campaign I did a few years ago for the Hudson's Bay Company here. I called up Shazam, you know, that app Shazam that can, you know, if you want to know the name of a song, you just press Shazam. The app listens to the song and then tells you the artist, the album. So I asked Shazam, if someone Shazammed a radio commercial, could they see the product we're talking about? And Shazam said, we haven't done that, but it's possible. So that's what we did. So at the start of the radio commercials for the Bay, for the Hudson's Bay Company here, the first line in the commercial was Shazam this commercial. And then as we talked about whatever that commercial was about, be it shoes or dresses or purses, you could actually see what we were talking about on your phone for the first time ever on radio. Because you never really see the product on radio. So that's what, and you could buy it right through the phone. You're looking at it, you could buy it. So when I see that kind of progress, when I see that fundamental sea change in marketing, when I look at the food service industry, where there's takeout, where there's making reservations, like it's just so mobile now. It's just, you don't have to be at home, you don't have to run to a phone. You can do it from work, from the subway, from the bus, while you're waiting for a bus. And I think that's knowing that smart restaurateurs should be reaching out, making it as easy as possible for somebody to do that. I see content marketing growing. If you're asking me what's going to grow, content marketing is going to grow in a huge way. The trick is, how do you get it noticed? You post a video to YouTube, you're one of, I don't know how many videos get uploaded to YouTube every day, is how do you get people to see it? So that's when you use your other social media to drive people to your video. So content's only going to grow. I think smartphones are going to become, they are the remote control of our lives now. They're going to become even more so. I suspect privacy will become an issue more and more as we expand in the digital world. I can foresee a time in the future where we will sell our privacy, that if someone wants information, I will sell it to you, Mr. Manufacturer, Mr. Advertiser. I see that coming because privacy is an issue. And that's why I think marketers, restaurateurs have to be respectful when you're on social media. Be careful what you tweet, take the high road, be interesting, don't be invasive, don't take people's private information without at least having a conversation about it. There's a lot of transparency on digital now. It only takes me 3 clicks to figure out what you're all about. So companies and restaurants have to walk the walk. But if you do, people will love you. They'll love that you're just flat out interesting, innovative, you know how to work on social media, you know how to talk on social media. And if you have a great product, you have all that happening for you, you're going to do a lot of business.